Welcome to TeagleTalks Heart and Hustle, where passion meets purpose and we turn big dreams into bold moves. I'm your host, Sarah Teagle, business consultant and owner of Teagle Consulting, public speaker, and author of The Sisterhood of Success, The Heart and Hustle of Women Entrepreneurs. If you're ready to level up your business without losing yourself in the process, you're in the right spot. Let's get started. I want to welcome Esmerelda. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today. We met at a real estate meeting over a year ago.
Yep.
And I heard you speak for the first time. And what I just learned is that was actually your first time speaking.
Yes.
So we were just talking about that, but you are the owner of Rubio Accounting Firm in Russellville, Arkansas. And you've built a very trusted name in accounting. And beyond that, you're a mom, you're a business owner, and you're a mentor to a lot of different people yourself. And so today we're going to talk about the power of mentorship in business and life. I hope today's conversation really reaches somebody that is thinking about mentorship or growth, that this can be an inspiration for them. Just tell us about your journey, how you started, how you got started in accounting.
I think it all started when I was around 16, 17. My dad had apartment rentals. I was doing the bookkeeping, the bills, paying the mortgage, and I kind of thought it was kind of fun keeping up with the numbers, but I had never heard of accounting. Growing up, I didn't know any accountant. I didn't even know that was like a career field. So in my mind, I was like, oh, real estate, I'll do real estate. But I'm a really shy person, so I was like, I don't know if it's going to work out. And then once I actually went to Russellville High School and they had an accounting class, I'm like, wait, accounting? That's what I'm doing.
Right.
So ever since then, I knew that I wanted to be an accountant.
That's a pretty cool story, though, that your dad got you involved in his business, and then your passion just developed from there. You didn't really even know what it was called.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a testament to get our kids involved in our businesses.
I've learned is like we learn our financial stuff from our parents.
%.
If my dad wasn't into real estate, I would have probably been doing something else.
Yes, that's true. Because my parents, I had one that was really good with money and then one not so much. You learn your spending habits, your saving habits, how to invest, or even people are just not educated on how to invest. Or in your case, I'm sure you see a lot of people that are not educated on taxes. The advantages of the tax system is a whole beast in itself.
Yes.
So I'm definitely excited to pick your brain on that as well. What's one piece of advice on your perspective of mentorship that changed the way you showed up in your business or in your life after, maybe before and after you had a mentor?
So before the mentorship, I was kind of struggling a little bit with having to actually run two businesses. I have the Rubio Tax, which is my original one that I started.
Okay.
And that one kind of reached its max where I couldn't take on more clients, but I was still struggling. I want to be at a higher level, but I can't. So I was kind of thinking like, what should I do? And the only thing I could think of is open a second, third, fourth office, but it would have to be in Conway, Fort Smith, and I had my young children. I just can't. I know that's what I would have to do, but I couldn't do it with my children.
Right.
So I kind of felt I was like at a,
Like you were stuck.
I was stuck there.
Yeah.
And then that's when I took the mentorship, and that opened a whole lot of new doors that I didn't even know existed. And that's how it got me opening my second office, which is the Rubio Accounting Firm here in Russellville. The second one, I'm just concentrated with businesses. And then the first one, we just do individual W-2s.
Okay.
So it let me expand. And when you say, how does it manifest showing up in my business now? With the mentorship, I have a whole different view of my business now.
Yes.
And I'm able to show up more passionate and actually work on stuff that I'm passionate about.
Right.
Whereas before, I was stuck, doing most of the work. And now I'm able to like, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about this so I can help my clients. I've been taking so many tax strategy classes, different credentials, trying to be the expert in my field.
Yes.
And I'm able to do that because of the mentorship that I took.
2 points I think that you brought up. One, they get to a certain point where they've grown as much as they can by themselves or with a few employees. And then they're like, well, what do I do next? Right. And if you don't have that knowledge or you feel that you're stuck, that is a good time to bring in a mentor, especially if they're in that industry or field, because they're looking at your vision from the outside. Because a lot of times what we see is that the business owner will be stuck in the weeds, what we call it. You're stuck in the weeds doing the day-to-day of the operations. And sometimes that gets really distracting because you can't focus on, like you said, growing your skills and your knowledge to be an expert in the field, which as the business owner, that should be your sole purpose. So I'm glad that you found that mentorship program. So you have 2 locations right now in Russellville.
Yeah, I was doing taxes for one of my clients and they had taken a mentorship in their field. And my first thought was like, that's way too much money. That
Yeah.
was and then I asked the client, like, did it really help you? And he's like, yeah, he did 2 different mentorship. He like, yeah, I picked up, some good things from one and some other good things from another one. So that stuck in my brain a little bit because in my mind, that's a lot of money. After a couple of months, one of the dreams that I had growing up is having a huge fancy house. When I started my business, I'm like, I'm gonna make it come true.
Yeah.
So I actually bought the land and I've been paying on the land for the last 5 years. And then 2 years ago, I actually got the house plans. I go to the bank and you don't have enough income to qualify for what you're wanting. So I'm like, how do I get there? I know that's what I want and I'm gonna find a way to get there. And so, a couple of months after that client, I saw this Facebook ad and they were talking, like I felt they were talking directly to me. Like, do you feel you're capable of more? But do you feel you're stuck and that your business has plateaued? When I did the mentorship, it was like twice as much as the other client, but I felt that it was worth every penny.
If you find value in it, you might pay 5 to 10,000, 15. I've seen some coaching programs. Teagle Consulting, we sit down and have a one-on-one session. We strategize with that business owner, and it's custom. I don't have specific plans that you can purchase. I feel like that's more effective because I can tailor everything that business owner needs, where some people don't, and that's okay. I'm not saying that either strategy is correct. That's just the strategy we use at Teagle Consulting. If you can invest in yourself as a business owner and you have the ability first, you've already made it, right? Because you have the ability to pour back into your business. 1, it's a tax write-off. And 2, you're going to gain so much more that you could X your profit. You could X your profit in a short amount of time. Like you said, you were able to open a second location, still stay within your area so it didn't disrupt your children's lives. You didn't have to travel back and forth, but you have one that's focused on business and one that's focused on individuals, which thinking back, you probably wouldn't have even thought of that because you're like, well, I can just do it all from one location.
And I remember when I told my husband, like, I'm going to open a second office. He like, why are you going to spend more money on rent? Like, you're already paying rent.
Right.
So, sometimes in business, you have to talk to business-minded people so they can understand. By this couple new clients that I picked up, it's already paying for itself. And then it's going to create a better atmosphere. I know that people coming in is just going to be business. It was the right choice to do. And that's why, like, with the mentorship, they can guide you. When you're just talking to a friend, they're not going to give you those advice. They're going to say everything's spending a lot of money because it's money they don't have. So it's kind of hard to talk to somebody and say, hey, should I do this or do that? The pros and the cons and stuff like that.
I like that. And you also mentioned too, you talked to your husband about it and he may not be the business person. All of our friends are not like-minded people. We were talking before.
He is a business person, but we have different mindsets.
In business, sometimes you gotta spend money to make money. And it's hard. It can be a fine line too, though. Even if you're in business, the risk.
Yes.
Some people are more risk adverse and it just really depends. And it could have not worked out. It could have worked out. In your instance, it's
in my
been great.
opinion, I'm willing to pay if it means I can do something here and not have to lose that family time. And I don't want to sacrifice all of that. So I was willing to pay for an alternative option. I just knew I needed some guidance at that point because I know what I think I could do, but at the same time, I didn't want to sacrifice my family time.
Right. And I get that because as moms, we have a lot going on our plate. I'm friends with you on social media. I see you're taking classes, you're running a business. It gets to a point where you got to find a solution, but you still want to be a mom and you still want to have that family time and go to events and participate with your family and not just be working 24/7. I think the other thing that you talked about too that I liked was you want to do what you're passionate about and learning. A lot of business owners are lifelong learners and it helps us to continue growing our skills, especially with your industry. That changes yearly.
Yes.
And so you have to be up on your game, business-wise, personal-wise, to be able to guide your clients. You pointed out a really good thing is that was one of your main priorities, and it just so happens you're also passionate about it,
Yeah.
right? Let me ask you another question that kind of coincides with what we're talking about is how do you navigate between balancing being fully present with your family and being fully committed to your business?
So it's difficult. It honestly is. That's why when I first started my business, I didn't have any children. So I was working, I had my regular W-2 job. I called my tax business after hours. So
Okay.
it would be like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. And then I was working all day Saturday and a couple hours on Sunday. When I had my first daughter, that's when I got to make a decision, quit my W-2 job or do my business. I can't do both. So that's what motivated me to actually quit and then just concentrate on the business side. And then with the mentorship, I can actually take off time if I want to. I'm not the one doing every single thing. So now I have
Right.
a little bit more free time that, hey, if I want to pick up the kids, make sure that they're at soccer practice, I can. And before that, I couldn't do that. I had to be,
Right.
I had my appointments, I had to be, 9 to 5. And now being able to be more present with the kids and my family, that's why it was worth it. Just last June, I actually took off the whole month of June and I went to Honduras and I took my children with me. Before I
That's
would never
amazing.
have been able to do that.
The mentorship that you had was so valuable that it created so much growth in you, but also in your company that you were able to see the value of hiring more employees, right?
Yes, first business took me 3 to 4 years to get it at being at max capacity. This second business, within less than a year, I had it up to speed to the other one, which,
Yeah.
that's where the mentorship, they're saving you time and years. So I went from it was just me and my receptionist. Now we have 8 people on our team. Now we work as a team. Now we all share the same vision, the same goal. And, before I thought I was the only one that could, do everything. And now
Yeah.
every time I talk to business owners, they're afraid of hiring because they're like, oh, what if they take over, learn everything here and then go somewhere else? Once the mentorship showed me how to hire, I was
Yes.
like, oh, that's how you do it.
Yes.
So all these big businesses, you find out how they're doing it and using it yourself.
I was in corporate America for over 25 years in leadership roles. When I work with smaller business owners and they're scared of that, it baffles me because I'm like, well, what do you expect to just be the only person? That's that's not sustainable. Teaching them how to hire and showing them, hey, here's a hiring process. Here's what you should ask. Because finding the right is not just about putting a body in there,
And I
right?
think that's the major issue when they do hire somebody and it's not the right person.
Yeah.
Now they don't want to hire anybody.
Yes. And that's a good point because people have been burned by bad
Oh
employees,
yeah.
right? And on the flip side, employees, you find bad employers as well, right? It's twofold. But on that note, hiring the right person is essential. I have a client that I worked with 2 months ago. One of the things I identified was your leader that is in this role is what we call a detractor. There's a promoter, a neutral, and a detractor. So when we're building a culture where you mentioned that these employees that you have, they share your vision, you're part of a team, and the culture that you've built as a business owner is positive. You have that level of that you could take a month off and the business is going to run without you. You trust your employees, they're going to show up, there's nothing bad that's going to happen when you're gone. That is a great place to be as a business owner. What I've also seen is that they don't trust their employees because their employees have demonstrated behaviors like being unreliable, being inconsistent, not showing up to work on time or at all, right? But they continue to keep them employed and then continue to be unhappy with their employment. And you got to cut the cord.
And it's hard because I've been there.
It
And it's like you
is.
have somebody and you have that relationship with them, but at the
Yes.
same time, they're not up to speed where you would want them to be.
Yes.
So like if you can avoid all of that from the very beginning, it's gonna save you a lot of time.
100%. And that is where that client got to. Although this person has been with me for 5-6 years, this isn't the right fit for them, but it's also not the right fit for my business. They don't share my vision. They're not living up to the company culture. They're bringing the rest of the team down because they're negative. And so once In this instance, when I was speaking with this client, they ended up parting ways with the employee. And after that, the person that was right below that leader stepped up and outshined. My client was like, I just didn't even know that was possible. And that's how you know that
Yeah.
person is in the right spot.
Yeah, a really good person
Yes.
is worth 3 or 4.
Yes. And that's exactly it. Like if you have one good employee that can outperform or do the job of 3 to 4 people, you're golden. That's where you
And
have
that's
that
where it
trust.
doesn't matter if you pay them a little bit more
Yep.
because they're bringing in a lot more value. And then
Exactly.
they're happy too then.
Yes. And that's truth be told, that's when you have good employees and you pay them well, they won't want to go anywhere else. So that fear, that's that scarcity mindset
Yeah.
I talk about in my book. It's like that scarcity mindset for business owners can be detrimental because if you're leading a business with a scarcity mindset, you're going to live in fear of those little details. But if you know, hey, you know what? I have the right people in the right place. So paying them a few extra $1,000s is really going to only benefit me as a business owner. It's going to benefit them. The flexibility is really big
Yeah.
for employees as well.
Yep.
Benefits, flexibility, and pay. Those are the 3 things that are going to motivate anybody. And so to be able to juggle that as a business owner, find the right people, you're going to build an army of people that can take your business to a level you may not even envision.
One of my employees that I hired, he helped me find my second employee that was, really good. Actually, the second was even better than him. And
See?
then
Yes.
now they're telling me, as soon as you need somebody else, just let me know. We're gonna be able to find a really good, even them
Yes.
themselves are kind of selective of who they bring in onto the team.
When you're looking at your team and hiring, your team is going to know who they want to work with. Let them bring you more people. You don't have to work very hard in the hiring process. You don't have to go post ads and hold hours of interviews. It's a time saver for you or whoever's hiring. Then they actually want to work with that
Yeah.
person.
And I couldn't build my business to that momentum without having taken the mentorship program. So like it just all starts off with the mentorship program, honestly. It's what
Yes.
allow me to think outside the box. Because a lot of the times we think we know our business, but then somebody else bring a different perspective and like, oh, that's
Yes.
interesting. I think that was the best decision I could have taken to actually grow. Because, there are people that have a business, but like you were saying, they're kind of operators where it's a business, but really it's basically a check for them. And there's nothing much extra. And then you have these other businesses that have a lot of employees, 2 or 3 locations, and I wish I could be like them.
Yeah. Or
And
how do they do that?
it must be so many headaches. You start thinking that's way too hard. I can't get to that level. And that's where the mentorship just opens some doors.
Did the mentorship program that you were a part of, did they open doors as far as networking and introduce you to maybe folks that also were like-minded, or maybe was that something that you wished they had, or what are your thoughts there?
They didn't actually have, maybe they just pointed 1 or 2 things, hiring process, but didn't actually have like connections. But I was able to find, what I needed to find, the
Yes.
CRM. I wasn't, they kind of pointed several CRMs, and then I found the one that fit the best
Worked
for
for
my
you.
business. Yeah.
Yeah. At Teagle Consulting, we offer as many resources as possible. If we know somebody in that area, as I work with people all over the United States, so it's not just locally, but if you have resources that are all over, and that's a big part of networking. And part of, I talk about in my book, building a tribe, because when you're networking and you're building a tribe, you're finding like-minded people that you can meet. And it's not that you have to meet them and they have to become a part of your business, but having just conversations with people like we are today. Did I ever think that we'd be sitting here in a podcast today? Probably not. Did you ever think I'm going to keep in contact with Sarah and it's going to lead to something else? Probably
Yeah.
not.
When I was in college, they told me there were some people that I think it was like career day, or they had some accountants, and then they were explaining a little bit about their job. And then one of the things that they said was networking. I'm
Yes.
like, why networking? I'm so shy. It's so hard to talk to people.
Yeah.
Networking, how does that make a big difference? Now, being a business owner, like you said, I went to a real estate roundtable. I'm trying to get involved in more things. And then you meet somebody that turns out to be not only a good client, but a good friend, and then they
Yes.
refer you to, some more people. And like, that's what they mean by
Yeah.
networking, getting to know, being open to getting to know other people, and, wanting to help out other
Yeah.
people too. I've been surprised how much other business owners want to help other business owners. Like, they're willing
Yes.
to give you, what the struggles that they had, the solutions that they found. I always think about business people being greedy. I've seen the opposite. I really want to help.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of business owners want to help you avoid some of the things that they had to go through. Some of that is just talking about it or even referring you to read a book. Hey, this book really helped me. Go read that. Because I think that's key as well. Are you an introvert?
I would say.
I would say that you've mentioned a couple times you're shy, and that's true, right? Like a lot of business owners are not extroverted. I'm an introvert as well, but you probably never know that just because I've been in business for so long. And in the corporate world, you have to be what we call like turned on, right? I got to be turned on. I got to talk. I have to present. I have to be on my game, as we would call it, because I could be called into a meeting to explain my business anytime. So I got to know my business in and out. I got to know the data. I have to know how to pull reporting. You have to know all of these things. And so a lot of people that I've ran into that are business owners, and especially smaller business owners that maybe don't have a lot of employees, they keep that introvert expectation to them. It's their comfort zone.
Yep.
And so a lot of the times too, I'll work with clients to get them outside of their comfort zone. A couple years ago, I worked with a client and he was mortified to get in front of a camera and even just have a conversation. Let's just try it. It's just us. Like, I'm not going to post it anywhere. I'll hold up the cards and now he's grown so much in his business, but also in his public speaking.
Yes.
And just getting out there in different events within the community and talking to people. I'm so proud of them. And it's not even about anything other than I've seen that journey. And you see that, I'm sure, in your employees as well. They start with you and you're teaching them what you expect and you're teaching them the different CRM or how to talk to clients, how to get new clients. I'm sure that you've seen the growth. Talk a little bit about where you're at and where you want to go in your business.
When I was younger, I always wanted to do something to help other people, but I love the numbers and I could never put the two together. Now I started doing the small YouTube videos and
Yes, I love them, by the way. I watch them.
And you were saying you were just explaining the same thing that I went through when I put the camera on. I was, oh my gosh, I hate this. But I
Yeah.
needed to get over my comfort zone and I need more people to get to know me
Yeah.
because I think I do a really good job and I do more than what other accountants are willing to do. I'm willing to take all these classes. But if they don't know me, then how? I think I heard something. If you're the best, but nobody knows you, and then everybody
Right.
knows this other person, and they're not the best, but everybody
Yes.
knows that person, they'll go
Yes.
to that
Well,
person.
sometimes I think I get what you're trying to say is like, it's not always about talent. I've seen this is that the most talented people sometimes are not the most outspoken. So they're going to be overlooked because they're not out in the crowd talking, being those people that are always out in the community. And you're thinking, I have so much more skills than they do. And not in like a bad way,
Yeah.
right? But we all can relate to this at some point if we want to admit it or not. But it's like you see people and you're like, I have 10 times more talent than that person or 10 times more knowledge.
Or I could help them even more.
Yes, but nobody comes to me, right? And that's where you got to get out of your own way. You know what? They're not coming to me because if nobody knows about me, how do they know? If nobody knows I offer this service, well, then is it their fault that they're not coming to me? No, that's probably my fault. Right. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's a good example that you pushed yourself to move past your comfort zone, because if you hadn't, I wouldn't have known about your videos. If you hadn't went up and been public speaking at that event, everybody in that room wouldn't know who you were. That's a testament of even the introverts, like just push yourself.
Yeah.
I'm begging you.
You know what helped me out? Like the first time, I did that public speaking, I'm like, man, I need to get better at this. I felt that I didn't do a good job. So I'm like, what can I do? And I actually took a course on public speaking because I'm
Yes.
like, there's a way I could be a little bit more confident. And that the second time I did, I didn't even have to look at my notes.
Yep.
Like I wasn't even looking down. I was looking straight at the public and
Right.
it was just like, like for me, it was like day and night. But that's where, like, as a business owner, you want to learn. You
Yes.
want to keep on learning, and that keeps opening more doors for you. Whereas,
100%.
some people are just stuck with, okay, this is what I do, and they just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And, just also like with new technology, there's so much modern
Yes.
technology out there that I had no idea.
Yes.
I started looking at like Slack and Open
Yes.
Phone and like, oh my
Yes.
gosh, like, and then CRMs, and they can,
Yes.
when a client comes and calls my office, if we don't answer, we are able to call them back right away. And then we're able to talk in between. If somebody had a question and then they hang up and we weren't able to answer it, but we're able to collaborate on that, just on that message, and then
Yes.
call the customer back. But there's so many tools out there that I didn't
Yes.
know existed before, and it has made my firm grow even faster.
Yeah, and it helps your operations drive efficiency. It's another thing that we do at Teagle Consulting. Because I was in corporate for so long, I know all about Slack, and Microsoft Teams, Google. I mean, anything that technology wise, because in the corporate world, you're expected to be a part of any implementations. When new software launches, you got to learn it right away. You got to be adaptable. If somebody has not been in corporate or not been in some of those roles and they don't have that knowledge, I've worked with clients that have never heard of a CRM. And I have to explain it to them. Never heard of automating a workflow to where every single thing that you do is automated, and we help you set that up. We build nurturing campaigns to where 2 years out, we're still contacting your customers. You don't even have to think about it. And people are like, what? Now that AI is here, there's a lot of people that are intimidated by technology. And so for anybody listening, that's where I always try to keep up on the AI. I'll go to classes. Education is key. So if I'm reading books, if I'm, listening to podcasts or listening to YouTube videos, even in taxes, that's for a business owner, like not learning about taxes is like throwing money down the drain.
Yep.
Not learning about technology is like driving your business into the ground. That's another thing, having a mentor and building that business and building that structure of your operations within your business is huge, because a mentor can bring those things to light of like, hey, I know how to streamline this process to make it 10 times easier. And you wouldn't even have to think about it for 6 months. And that business owner's like, what? Sometimes it's the thing that they hate doing the most. Okay, let's find a way that you never have to be worried about that again. And it's like aha moments going off. Tax season is around the corner. What's one thing that people should be doing now? I kind of want to tap into your expertise here for a second. What is something that people should be doing now to set themselves up for success? Maybe even at the end of the year or years to come.
Tax planning. I've been in conversation with one of my clients, and they had come to me, and they've been paying 30,000 every year in taxes, and I'm like, there has to be a way we can pay less. Yeah, but you just gotta, you gotta do these steps. Now they're following through, and they contact me. Your idea is, we're gonna go ahead with it, and I told them, like, just make sure it's get done before the end of the year, and they're gonna be able to, if they pay anything in, it'll be like 5 grand instead of 30 grand.
Yeah, so you're saving them $25,000.
Yeah. There's so many things with tax strategy, that there's so many loopholes.
Mhm.
And what this last couple of years, what kind of blows my mind is how even the educational system on the tax side. So I have an accounting degree,
Mhm.
and then working towards my CPA. The CPA doesn't even touch on tax planning and tax strategy. It touches the basic rules that there are, but then how do you use that to your advantage?
Right.
They don't teach you that. So by me taking the tax strategy classes, oh, I've heard about that, but I didn't know you could apply it this way. So now I'm able to
Yes.
do, work with a business owner. I had another one too. There's ways that you can legally pay zero, through real estate. And I had a client, they had real estate, but their CPA didn't know about this tax strategy.
Uh,
So they knew that they were towards the right path, that they knew they had to do real estate, to help with bringing down the taxes. But even then, they could have gone, by doing this, it's called like a cost segregation study. By doing that, it actually brought their tax down, almost down to zero. It's just something that their, accountant didn't know about, or it's just something that's not in their services. But, I've seen a lot in, in the accounting world, there's not enough accountants.
Mhm.
So all the accountants, the good ones, they're really backlogged. And they're doing extensions, waiting till October. No, I had a client say, they did an extension, but now it's November. It was last year. So even if you did the extension, now you have penalties because you went
Right.
over. And so with the new, my new business setup, I'm able to do a tax return at the most within a week. And that allows us to plan. And for next year, if you want to do this, then you could bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people are wanting to get into that. There's different options, present different options, and some of them might not be a good strategy for them. So like for
Right.
some people, I tell them like, hey, you're not paying that much, and if you do, you have to do, this much, and it's gonna cost you this much, so it's not worth it.
Right.
So I gotta make sure that they're actually getting savings. So the same thing with doing an S corp. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of clients that have S corps, but I'm telling them you're not actually saving any money by having an S corp. It's the number one tool to save money, but it's not like a
It's
blanket
not working for
solution
you.
yeah. So I had to get a
Yeah.
couple, away from being an S
Yeah.
corp.
I think now the social media has diluted a
Oh
lot
yes.
because they hear one thing and then they hear another thing and they're like, okay, well, what do I do? Or they hear about S corps and so they go do that and then it's not really beneficial to them, but they think because I heard it,
Yeah.
like that's what I need to go do. How often do you meet with a client building a tax strategy? Do you meet with them quarterly, once a year? Like what does that look like for you and your clients, or is it?
So honestly, a lot of my business owners are really busy,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm having open appointment, like open door policy. So I have a calendar link. They can just go in and
Just book with
yeah,
you
they can book
whenever.
today, they could book tomorrow, so my calendar is open for them. For most of my clients, even just 2 times a year, and that was enough for them to get the idea of what they needed to do. And then
Yes.
at the end of the year, just wanted to check out, make sure it's going to work out. And that's one of the things too. A lot of them have, complained that it's so hard to get a hold of an accountant
Yes.
and sit down and have them want to talk to you.
Mhm.
That's what this business model that I have allows me to do, is actually sit down with the client
Yeah.
and talk things through and choose the best strategy. What are your goals for your business? How much revenue do you think you're actually going to bring in? Can I
Right.
look at your past data? Because when they come to me, I see it more like they want something, but I have to give them the expert opinion and say, this might not be the best thing for you. And not just do because honestly, like the accountant is the one that has the most information that can do a better formed opinion
Right.
where they kind of have a rough idea of what they want. And so sometimes when people come to me and they want something, like, let me just make sure that it is going to save you money.
Mhm.
And that's or just wait to hold off a year,
Yep.
something like that, and save you a little bit more money without having to pay 2 tax returns because you're not at the moment yet, so just wait one more year.
I think that's is really important too from a consultant standpoint, that when I do talk to clients and they're talking to me about financial things or maybe some strategy, I advise them to go talk to their accountant. Do you have an accountant? Yes. Are they working for you? Like, do they know your vision? I had this conversation last week.
Do they know your goals?
Yes. You're telling me your goals, right? And we're working on them from an operation standpoint, communication standpoint, from all of these things within the business. I had to stop a client the other day and be like, did you loop in your accountant that this is your goal for financially, that you want to be to X amount of profit? Do they know that? Well, no, I haven't talked to them in 6 months. Okay, well, I would suggest that you go call them, right? And then make sure that the strategy you guys have in place aligns with your vision. Because if it doesn't, and you're operating internally, but then at the end of the year, you get to that point and your accountant's going to be looking at you like, I didn't like that. We could have done 5 things 6 months ago that could have helped you down this process or save this amount of money, those types of things. So I think that that's key. You mentioned that is because tax strategy is huge. I've learned that along the way as well as a business owner because, I'm not diverse in tax. And one of the things that one of my brothers told me was like, hey, if you find a good accountant, you hold on to them. When you find somebody that
An
you
accountant
work
and a
well,
lawyer.
yes,
You need a good
yes,
lawyer and a
yes,
good
like
accountant.
yes, 100%, because they're worth every penny. Because if they can save you, your example, you saved your client $25,000, that's huge. they can go use that 25,000 and grow their business in a whole nother way. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. If somebody is listening and is on the fence about finding a mentor or hiring a coach, what would you say to them?
What is your vision and your goal? And are you there? Because if you're not, like, I had this dream or, wanted this stuff, but are you really there? And if not, like, the mentorship can get you to where you're happy. Right now, I'm passionate what I'm doing. I'm even more excited to work in my business. But if you're ever feeling like I keep doing the same thing over and over again, I'm not seeing better results, I'm not at the growth rate that I wanted to be, then that's where the mentorship is going to be valuable. Somebody may be starting right off the bat. They're still learning how to do, their basic stuff. But once you have business owners that have had it for a couple of years and then they're trying to grow it, then that's where I think at that point is where it would be the most valuable.
Yes. And you make a good point, right? When you're starting out and you're in a startup phase and you're just you have an idea and you're trying to make that concept reality and you're getting your first client is the hardest thing ever in life. Are they going to want to be my client? Am I doing this right? Like you're learning as a business owner how to perfect your pitch, how to sell. Sales is everything. People will be like, well, I don't like sales. You're a business owner. You have to sell. You are your brand.
Like
Anytime
even
you walk out the door, you're selling something. Either you're a consumer and you're being sold something, or you're selling something, or you're both. Esmeralda, thank you so much for just being honest and having an inspiring conversation today. Your story reminds us that success is not built in isolation. You got to put yourself out there. You got to take chances on yourself,
Yeah.
right? Bet on yourself. And a lot of that's done through connection, building relationships, mentorships. So for everybody listening, make sure to reach out to Esmeralda for accounting and tax needs. And if you are wanting a mentor or a coach, reach out to consulting.biz and we can help you. Until the next episode, let's continue to build with heart and hustle and turn big dreams into bold moves. I just want to say thank you for spending time with me today. For more strategies, if this resonated with you at all, you can grab my book, The Sisterhood of Success, The Heart and Hustle of Women Entrepreneurs. You can follow me on social media. You can find us at TeagleConsulting.biz and our YouTube channel as well. If you're ready for coaching and you're looking for a speaker to inspire your team, your business, fill out that contact us section and we'll get back with you. Until next time, keep leading with your heart and hustling with purpose.